Although tempting, the thoughts of setting down near the shore where one will be surrounded with a peaceful and serene atmosphere have vanity from Bakugou's mind and was replaced by disturbance. 4 days ago, just as he was about to depart to require some rest, Kirishima's news had delayed him. Hopes of finally resting in a stress-free environment has gone. The movement that the redhead delivered the information that thousands of people, rebels and non-rebels alike, are about to rise and march to the castle Bakugou was staying at this very time. They were going to protest, but clearly in a more violent way. Chaos explored within the party that Bakugou had brought. Kirishima insisted that Bakugou should still depart to the castle by the sea so that he could be miles away from the violence that was about to ensue. Bakugou, being who he is, did not heed to his friend's intentions. He is a king, one that needs to be protected, but he's no coward. He's been to the front lines in many battles before, and he's not gonna sit this one out. Who is it? How is it looking? Walking through the hallway, he is surrounded by soldiers and Kirishima to report the statue outside. These past 4 days, we've managed to halt their advances, Your Majesty, so that they won't be able to reach this castle, one soldier said, but their numbers seem to have not dwindled. They keep pushing forward. Kirishima then said, and this time, they've brought cannons and guns with them. What about those with quirks? They've been the hardest to contain, Your Majesty, but we're doing our best. Try harder, the blonde ordered. Bakugou, you know they're going. Kirishima was cut off by Bakugou suddenly halting his pace. He faced the soldiers and said, I know, Kirishima, it won't be long before they manage to get past my soldiers. What about that mind-controlled bastard soldiers? Some of Shinso's soldiers joined the uprising, but we have a quarter of them on our side, Kirishima answered. Then those who are on our side to the front lines, he said. Bakugou's eyes glared at nothing in particular due to the argumentations. As some of the soldiers behind Kirishima flinched and backed away. He knows this won't do, so he needs to do something. Bakugou started to walk again and past the soldiers. Kirishima turned and called to him. Where are you going? To make a strategy, he curtly answered. Walking to the war room of the castle, the soldiers scrounged and followed after him. As he walked, Bakugou had realized something. And where the fuck is Deku? He realized with the green-haired scholar is not all that president, but Bakugou has to admit that Midoriya is a scholar for a reason, and right now they need his knowledge of discomposition. The moment I deliver the news, he disappeared, Kirishima answered. He hasn't been back for 4 days. What? I have a hunch he's going to Igneous, Bakugou. And what the fuck would he be doing that? It is obvious that Midoriya has predicted that this situation won't turn out so well, so he may be asking for help from Igneous. As he couldn't get more agitated, Bakugou clicked his tongue and stopped, causing the others to halt as well. Just as he opened his mouth to deliver an order to do something about Midoriya, a soldier came running to them. Your Majesty, I am here to report, the soldiers say. What? Spill it out. Bakugou clicked his tongue. Soldiers from Igneous had joined in the front lines, Your Majesty. Bakugou felt like hot water was dumped on his head, making him angrier than more. What? He never gave any orders for the soldiers from Igneous to march and join in the front lines. He had never done anything that may signal it, so this could only mean one thing. His wife gave that order. Gritting his teeth, Bakugou tried to control himself, not to explode in anger right now. And then, ahead of them were 4 figures walking until they neared Bakugou. His glare hardened, but he waited for the figures to stop before him. Kirishima, on the side, looked as shocked as him. He looked between the people in the front of Bakugou and to the blonde himself. What the fuck? His eyes scanned the 4 in front of him. There's Midoriya, Present Mike, and even Shinso is here. But not even his scholar, who went ahead without his permission, nor Shinso, the ones he hates as this moment, could much the arrogant that Bakugou feels on the certain person standing right before him. She stood as if determined that Bakugou won't do anything about this sudden arrival. "What the hell are you doing here, Yin?" Hundreds of rebels are marching to where His Majesty is staying. Yin had once again found herself in the war room. The air is stiffening as if she tried to snort out of what kind of happening. "If this lasts, His Majesty won't hold any longer." Midoriya's voice still echoes in her head, progressing and taking in everything. Speaking of Midoriya, upon remembering the green-haired scholar, she also remembered early that Midnight had called for her and showed her inside, where a panicked Midoriya was waiting. He looked like he ran miles. And before he knew it, the call for the upper-ranking soldiers were made by Yin herself, and into the war room they went to discuss everything. She fell deep into her thoughts and did not realize that the soldiers have started to discuss what they should do loudly. Only she was snapped out of it when called for her permission. "Your Majesty, we must do something!" It was President Mike. Yin breathed and looked all over the worried soldiers looming over her. What? She realized her response was the only professional, but felt thankful that the soldiers did not mind and filled her in of everything. President Mike was the one to speak. "We will prepare thousands of our troops, and we will march to Terra. Your Majesty, give us your approval." "Yes, Your Majesty. Those southern people are getting cocky, and we must support our king. Let a war happen. We must not let them advance to King Bakugou." It was chaos once again in the war room. This time, they're not arguing with each other, but agreeing with each other's anger, pressuring Yin to excuse the same anger that they held and make a decision that will satisfy what they feel. "There is no time to think, Yin." A hand landed on her shoulder. Yin looked up to see Midnight peering down. Unlike the others, worry is etched on Midnight's face. "We must do it." There it is again. Their looming eyes sending heavy pressure on Yin, weighing her heart down. She thinks back to the deal she made with Bakugou, that no matter what happened, no matter how things conceded, she must not agree on sending more soldiers to Terra because it will be a declaration of war. But now the situation has turned up for the worst, and Yin thinks it's because of her decision of agreeing with Bakugou's deal that it turns out like this. And if she won't do anything right now, it will only worsen. She slightly hesitates for what she's about to do, but it's now or never. Closing her eyes, she took a breath before speaking her mind. "Prepare the troops." And just like that, the soldiers scampered off and prepared everything. While everyone is getting around, Yin remains seated while looking down. She made a decision, one that definitely won't please Bakugou. How infuriated she's acting right now. Yin wanted to rip her hair out. She's torn once again. In exchange for Bakugou's safety, thousands of igneous soldiers will march to Terra, and it might be seen as a declaration of war. A war Yin and Bakugou won't want to happen. If there are any options, she asked herself, muting the noise of her surroundings. There is still something I can do to ensure Bakugou's safety and prevent a war from happening. "Are you okay, my dear?" She heard Midnight's voice. Yin sank a breath before standing up. She excused herself and started to walk out and decided to go to her chambers. On the way there, she encountered Midoriya. Your Majesty, are you all right? Where are you going?" "I need to think, Midoriya." She inhaled again. I need to think of something, anything. I need more options." Not waiting for Midoriya's response, she went on and got inside her chambers, pacing back and forth for a long time. Yin did what she would possibly do in order to solve the problem. She searched for the root of the problem, and in this conflict, the rebellions from the south started becoming of Bakugou's heavy taxes. Taxes, Yin thought. She stopped upon thinking of something. Oh, alone in her room, she made the sound of realization to herself. Maybe there is another option. The sky had darkened when Midoriya was informed that everything is ready. The troops have been informed and will be mobilizing soon. President Mike geared up along with the other ranking soldiers. Tokiyami, who Midoriya had heard was against the sending of the soldiers to Terra, is here as well. Well, the situation has turned for the worst. "Are you going as well?" Midnight asked as she saw Midoriya in the hallway. They all geared up as well. "Yes, I may not be much, but I will go in order to reason with Bakugou, he nodded. After all, I came here without his permission because I knew he will not agree with this, but it seemed to be the only option we have left. It was bitter to say that Midoriya hoped there is much more options than this. He does not want a war to happen. The results will be devastating. He was reminded of what Yin had said earlier. She's looking for another option as well. Midoriya hopes she found something. He knows she's very determined to do what's needed to be done. Her past intentions of getting him to join the coup proves it. Well, thank you for your support back there, Midnight. He smiled at the woman. I will go now. Midoriya walked until he reached the foyer where President Mike and Tokiyami were getting ready as well. The two men nodded at him, and they were ready to depart, but a voice called to them. Midoriya turned to see Yin walking up to them. Uraraka is following behind her and is carrying a suitcase. And what surprised Midoriya the most is King Shinso being present as well. Your Majesty, the three said together and bowed. They moved to greet and bow to Shinso as well. Midoriya narrowed his eyes, skeptic of what Yin may do. We will depart in a few minutes, Your Majesty, President Mike said, and I may also ask the reason for King Shinso's presence here. I have to reason for him being here, she said, and there is going to be some changes. Confused, President Mike tilted his head. Changes? At this time, Your Majesty? We are about to depart. Yes, I apologize for the inconvenience that my intelligence brought, but I want to talk to you first. The men looked at each other and nodded. We will listen, Your Majesty, Tokiyami said. Yin nodded gratefully. I found a solution that will secure His Majesty's safety, and this one won't result in a war, Yin said, but it will require for the other soldiers to step back, as we would not need to bring with us thousands of soldiers. We will only need to bring 100 of them. 100? President Mike doubted. If we only bring 100, Your Majesty, they won't go out well. I know, but it will be enough to fight the war until this fight is over. Tokiyami stepped up. Are you suggesting that 100 soldiers can oppress the rebellion? Yin shook her head. It won't be our army that will help end this conflict. Then what are you going to do? Midoriya said. Yin then answered. We're going to make a deal with Bakugou. What the hell are you doing here, Yin? To the others, Yin may look brave and determined, but for showing and standing right in front of Bakugou under this circumstances. But no, Yin's anxiety is through the roof. We need to discuss something, she managed to let out. She could feel Bakugou's anger and braced herself for whatever reaction he might have. And if I agree, will you tell me what the fuck is going on here? Yes, we will tell you everything. And just like that, Bakugou led them to another room to discuss everything. However, he decided to let in Midori, Kirishima, Shinso, and Yin only. The soldiers and President Mike were made to wait outside. Honestly, Yin expected Bakugou to lash out, but that doesn't mean she wished for it. She thanked God it didn't happen and that Bakugou has his priorities sorted at this moment. They all scampered around a table and sat down except for Bakugou, who stood at the end of the table, his hands gripping the edge of the table as he glared at every single one of them. Each of you fuckers better explain why you did the things you just did, he warned. First off, Deku. Midoriya flinched upon the sound of his name. Did I fucking give you permission to go and act behind my back, huh? Bakugou's voice retorted. I didn't. Did I? So why did you run off and ask for help? I could hang you for treason right now, goddammit. I did what I think it was right, Your Majesty. Midoriya almost stammered. I know we won't hold out here any longer, and for asking reformance is the only option. Doesn't change the fact that you acted without my approval. At this point, he's shouting. It won't be a while before he started to curse Midoriya, and so Yin decided to speak. Pardon Midoriya for now. We have more important things to discuss. Oh, and you, he growled under his breath as he turned his gaze to Yin. I should have known you can't do one damn thing I asked you to do. I told you not to send more soldiers, and what do? You brought more soldiers with you. I have a reason for that, and that will be a part of our discussion. So if you could please listen to us. Everything that's happening will make sense. You lot did not listen to me first, and you expect me to listen to you? Yes, Yin exhaled. Because if you do, we might have something that will end this conflict. Bakugou was silent before chuckling. End this conflict, huh? What kind of shit are you trying to pull, Yin? We have another option to suppress the rebels down there and to avoid a war. We need your cooperation and King Shinso to do as well. Avoid a war? You brought that bastard here, and you expect it will be all peaceful? If the southern people know he's here, there's no telling what they might do. Don't worry, Bakugou. Shinso decided to speak. No one knows except you and your men that I'm here. Your wife made sure we wouldn't be spotted when we entered the castle. She has everything planned. Listen to her. Don't tell me what to do, extra, he muttered angrily. Then he turned back to Yin. You better tell me what the hell is going on here and what's about to happen, Yin. Yin took a sharp breath. We only brought 100 soldiers just to make sure if anything goes south and not pun, it would be proven us more time to discuss the situation that will end this. And what the fuck is this solution? There was a pause as nervousness lingered in Yin's mind. However, she decided to pull it and just went on with it. You need to lift off the taxes here in Terra. A defensive silence passed by before Bakugou uttered a single word. What? You need to lift off the taxes. It will at least ease the people's hatred. I fucking heard you the first time, he muttered, eyes wide and boring into Yin's head as if drilling a hole. I heard you, but do you really expect me to agree with that? It's the only other option, Midoriya spoke. Shut up, Deku. Bakugou's glare came back. Of course, I did not expect you to agree right away. You're stubborn like that, Yin said, causing Bakugou to flinch. But I implored you to understand that this is the only option we have left. You do not want a war with Terra. You made it clear to me. So this is the only way. And what if I suddenly decide I actually want to start a war, huh? You won't. If you wanted to, you would have started it 4 days ago. You had your chance, yet you didn't do it. You suffered 4 days on trying to push back the rebels with your little small party of soldiers. Yin knew that Bakugou had realized she was right. She just hopes that he would let his pride down only for this time. Do you even realize it? Would be a damn great of a loss for my kingdom if we did that. He argued more. Because of these taxes, we were able to fund the military and won wars, and in the future, we would lose a great deal of funds for upcoming wars that might occur between us and other kingdoms. You may be right, but it's a risk we must take. Besides, I think you don't have much of a choice right now. It's either the solution or war with Terra, a war you desperately tried to avoid. This time, Yin managed to gain more confidence and bore her eyes into Bakugou. The blonde held in a perplexed look. She felt hopeful that he might be considering. I know this is not favorable to you, Yin continued, but you must realize as well that this conflict started because the southerner people are being taxed to the point of suffering. That was the final straw for them to try and free them from your rule. But then, I know, you won't do that either. You won't free them. You won't lose territory. So, it is clear this is the only option we have left. Bakugou went quiet, however. His glare is not faltering. If I agree with this, it will look like a victory for Terra, he said in a low voice, and a defeat for Igneous. For me. Yin's stern gaze remained as she sighed. It's not a matter of victory and defeat anymore. It's a matter of peace. And what everyone wants here is this conflict to end. Bakugou, I think this is the only opportunity. Kirishima supported Yin. The blonde remained silent, everyone waiting patiently for his response. And how are you so sure this is going to work like a fucking miracle? He asked. That's where you and Shinso come in. Yin explained. We will make a treaty that will lift off the taxes in the southern kingdom. With that, it will look official and the people will take it. That will be more effective, Kirishima agreed. Yes, and we should have the treaty now, signed and all. Yin nodded. And all that is left to announce it to the people and control the raging crowd down there. I should be the one to do it, Shinso said. I should be the one to announce it. Yin stared at him, understanding what he would be the one who of the southern people wanted to deliver the good news for them. And also, this would be the opportunity for Shinso to win back his people and make them trust in him more. She looked back to Bakugou again. What is your decision, The blonde's glare only turned into a perplexed look. He remained silent for a moment before inhaling sharply. The tension in the air got heavy. Fine, he said, and everyone in the room suddenly let out a breath of relief. But I have 2 conditions. Everyone went stiff again. First, if this does not work, I will take charge of what to do next. Got that? And for the second condition, Kirishima asked. Bakugou shifted his gaze to Yin. I'll tell you once we go back to Igneous. For Midoriya, it felt like a miracle indeed. He was there when the treaty was signed. He was there when Shinso managed to control his army, and they managed to keep the chaos controlled. And he was there when Shinso finally announced to his people the lifting of the tax. That was a crowd of rebels causing chaos, and it was now a crowd of celebration. It took 2 more days to contain the rebels and a day to spread the word to the entire kingdom. The days that followed after the announcement seemed peaceful yet full of celebration. However, there was no denying of the grim effect that had the protest left. It was reported that 87 people were killed during the protests and hundreds of rebels were thrown to prison. Midoriya started to think the results of this conflict is bittersweet, but to think that this conflict was ended because of Yin? She has gained a lot of favor from Midoriya. Maybe she is capable of ruling a country all to herself. Midoriya blinked, shaking his head to shake the thought off his head. He nearly thought of considering Yin's coup, but the woman has proven herself by ending this meanwhile. Bakugou still seemed to be given to his obsession with always winning. It has always been like that since they were kids. Midoriya just admired that. He looks forward to see what Yin can do in order to prove that she can lead. But right now, he must look forward to finally coming home to Igneous. For a moment of goodbye and gratitude from Shinso, they left. Before Midoriya entered his carriage, he first saw Yin and Bakugou enter their carriage. It felt kind of stifling for Yin to share such a small space with Bakugou, especially after this whole dance and order. They're on their way home to Igneous, and Yin still has the small anxiety lingering in the pit of her stomach. In front of her, Bakugou sat and leaned by the window, looking at anything but Yin. She, however, kept her eyes on him, as she wondered if it had been the right time to ask him about something. Yin's plan worked. It was successful. She felt glad, really. But she thinks back to the conditions that Bakugou gave them. Specifically to the second condition, he decided to tell only if they arrived at Igneous. The anticipation is gawking Yin's mind, and anxiety filled her up. It didn't help that she stuck with him for now. A sigh came from Yin, and she tried to stiff into a comfortable position. Then she heard Bakugou make a small noise. Oi, he said, looking at her. If there's something on your mind, spit it out. Yin opened and closed her mouth like a fish. Then she opted to sign again. It's nothing. She almost stuttered. It's not a big deal. You look like you're going to shit yourself, so it's a big deal. Say it. Yin said nothing. Bakugou sighed. It's about the condition, isn't it? She perked up at this. Bakugou went back to stare at the view outside. It is something I must be nervous about. Yin asked. No. He answered very quickly. Then can I hear it now? Yin almost jumped when Bakugou shifted his gaze on her again. Sorry, it's just making me anxious. A small silence passed before Bakugou decided to speak. Don't get me wrong, he started. What you did was helpful. Even I have to admit that. It pulled me out of that goddamn situation I put myself into. That made Yin wonder if that's his way of thanking someone or not. He continued. I'm not pushing anyone because I got to admit all of you had a part in this. But there's the second condition, one thing you all should swear to do. What is it? We're not going to tell anyone from Igneous how this ended. We're not revealing the fact that I lifted the taxes off the Southern Kingdom. No one should know except you, Deku, Shitty Hair, and those soldiers. Yin frowned. It seems that Bakugou's pride was always be there. The announcement should tell them that we defeated the southern people, that's all. Now one must think that was it. Yin would be robbed of the credits she deserved, but it's not even credits that she wanted. She only wanted peace, but still the thought of Bakugou's conditions caused her to frown as she disapproved of his pride. Do you still see this as our defeat? We accepted peace. I don't see this as a defeat. She sighed. Look, I may not know you for long, but I know you have your pride, but sometimes we need to know defeat in order to go further. A scoff left Bakugou's lips. I've known defeat my whole life. That made Yin purse her lips. The way Bakugou said it sounds so vulnerable even for him. The blonde may look stern in front of her right now, but the verity in his voice just now said otherwise. So Yin decided not to say anything. The entire carriage ride to Igneous was spent with silence. As they near their kingdom, Yin looks forward to whatever will happen next.